We're back. It's 6 weeks post Arnold Classic. As you know, I didn't compete. I didn't quite make it to this stage. We've had a multitude of problems, health-wise. Probably gone for the last 3 months now, something like that. So we got, I think we were 5-6 weeks out from the Arnolds. Things were going great for those that have seen the updates on Instagram. The reels that Harry has been making, progress was pretty good. I was on track to be my best yet, my heaviest yet. And then I fell ill. Being honest, I've been ill all year, just struggling with various things. I've got a few health issues with Crohn's disease anyway. But I've had I don't know, just like somebody's taken the batteries out. And over the course of time, it's just got worse and worse and worse. Probably 7 weeks out, I started having really horrendous stomach bloating. Couldn't finish my meals, was struggling to get 6 meals a day in, let alone the 7. For the meals that I was eating kind of 50-75% of them. And although my physique was with holding and looking good, energy-wise, I was, at 6 weeks out, you'd think I was 2 weeks out. So I got rushed to hospital. If I cut all the little bits out, I fell ill. I got bad. Things progressed. It got a lot worse. My stomach started heavily bloating. Couldn't eat. I was having fever, shortness of breath, dizzy spells. Couldn't get up. Called 111. It was a Sunday. Well, I'd been to the hospital, to the doctors on the Thursday. They kind of gave me some medication, sent me away. Got real bad on the Sunday. Ambulance came, took me to hospital. This is 6 weeks out, so I was in hospital for 5 nights, 6 days, which obviously put a bit of a dampener on prep, on where we were going and obviously where we'd been. Was a little unsure on whether or not I'd compete. The doctors didn't really have an answer. I think they thought that I had stomach ulcers, or the Crohn's disease had escalated into something worse. So at that point, obviously I spoke to James, I spoke to my wife. My wife was quite concerned. We've obviously got a young family. Competing was kind of, I wouldn't say the last thing on my mind. I was obviously gutted, and it was something that was important to me. But, you start thinking of all of the dreaded, don't you? And it was the right thing to do at that point to just call it. And as hard as it was, that's what we did. Probably for a week, I felt pretty good. I was a bit like, oh, fucking, I can do this. So I started again to push, and then got heavily ill again. And that sort of solidified the decision for me. From that point until now, I've had a number of other issues. So I had the camera that I had to have up my back end. They couldn't find anything. They wanted to leave it just in case I did have ulcers. I didn't want to perforate an ulcer to go down my throat. I waited probably 4 weeks for that. Had that done. Found out I've got a hiated hernia, which is the top of my stomach where it meets my esophagus is effectively it's herniated. It's come out, so that when I eat, the stomach would normally close, and then obviously all your acid does what it needs to do. Mine doesn't, and the acid comes back out, the food comes back out. So when I eat, I'm having huge acid reflux. It feels like if I have 2 or 3 mouthfuls, it feels like I'm full up. So that kind of explains the food side of it, but the illness side of it, we're kind of still not really there with. Had that done, got some more medication for that, went for probably 3 or 4 weeks, and then started having the fevers again. I was in the yard at work, just chatting to the guys, and a few times I've been a bit dizzy and a bit all over the shop, and I collapsed on the bonnet of a car. Kind of got a bit of help, went back into work, sat on the sofa for 10 minutes, felt all right, got on with it. Happened a few more times, went back to the doctors. They were a bit concerned that I may have had a mini or a small stroke or heart attack, which obviously is the last thing you want to hear. I'm 40 years old. I've not given my body an easy life. So they then rushed me again to the hospital, had heart scans, x-rays, ECGs, blood tests, you know, you name it, they've kind of been through it. They're confident that I haven't, which is great. So I haven't really got any answers at the minute as to what's going on, but what I have had is a huge kind of rethink on life, on being stressed, working as much as I work, taking the tablets that I take for, you know, I take a lot of painkillers, I've broken a lot of bones, I've got a lot of injuries, and just kind of learning to struggle through it rather than relying on medication and things, because obviously with bodybuilding, the stuff that I use for that, the stuff that I use for my health, the things that I use for pain relief, to be able to do the bodybuilding, it kind of all mounts up, and it's all got to a point where, although I don't think that's the reason that I've not been well, I don't think it helps. So I've kind of had a bit of a, I suppose, a bit of a detox and a bit of a wake-up call. And I've been all right. The last probably 2 or 3 weeks, obviously I've got medication for certain things that I'm sure have aided that and helped. But whether it was just a virus that I couldn't shake off, that was, you know, there's a lot of shit going around at the moment, post-COVID, that, you know, it was almost like I had COVID, but I've never had a positive COVID test, not for the whole time of COVID. So, but that's kind of what all of the symptoms were very similar. But then that leads us to now, and here we are. I feel good. I've been training twice a week since probably I went into hospital. So what's that, 10 weeks now? Maybe even a little bit longer. I think I've managed to string together 3 days a week, twice. The rest of it, I've been training. Then I've been out of it for 2 or 3 days, and then I'll train again, and then I'm finished. I've not done any cardio. But I feel good now, and I do feel, you know, they say every cloud has a silver lining, and I do think that the rest is something that I've never rested for this amount of time. And although I appreciate I've been ill, I think it's done me the world of good. I've been competing for 7 years now. I've never had a year off. I didn't compete this year. I won't compete this year. I've never had more than a week off training. I haven't trained properly now for 10 weeks. So we'll see. We'll see what the next few months bring. But today is day one of that. It's the 1st of November. And I'm good to go. So keep following, and we'll see where it leads us. I'm going to compete next year 100%. When that'll be, I don't know. It'll probably be sooner rather than later, because, like I say, I'm itching to get back on stage. A year's a long time for me to grace the stage. So I woke up this morning at 214 pounds. I don't look good. I look far from good. But we will do a little video later, and you can see where I am and where we're starting. You know, stay tuned and you'll see where I finish.